Good evening guys, today's the 15th of September, it's a Friday. It's exactly a week since you last saw me. However, I have been fishing this week on Monday evening. I'll tell you more about that in a short while. I'm not sure whether it will come out on the camera, but it's quite dark. It's about 6:30, quarter to 7 now. Sun's setting over there. There's plenty of cloud around, we keep getting the odd shower. As you can see down there, I've got the rods out already. I'll swing you around. Got one in the water and I need to just bait the other one up, so I'm just going to do that now, and I'll get back to you shortly and have a chat about a few changes I've made to the gear. Well guys, we've got the rods in the water now. Same tactics as usual here. I should say we're in the barbel swim. Fishing exactly the same as last week. To be honest, a little bit closer in than I was last week. I'm trying to just find the edge of the flow. And to be honest with you, it's come in a little bit towards me, the edge of the flow, because the river's pushing through. It's probably up 3 or 4 inches from last week. And it's pushing through a bit more. I've had my thermometer in the water as well, as I tend to do this time of year. I've been monitoring it now for a week and a half, and well, a week and 2 days, and in a week and 2 days it's gone down 3 degrees, which is not great at all. It's gone from 17 down to 14 degrees. Still a nice temperature, 14, but the downward trend's not good. You know, if it had gone up from 13 to 14, I'd be much more confident than going down. But you know, we're here, we've got a chance. I've bait dropped in some 4mm halibut pellets. I think I've just put 3 bait droppers of those in, and 4 bait droppers of some hemp I've got with me. Again, not filling the place in. I'm fishing for a bite. You know, 2 would be great. So that's really the tactics. My usual paste wrapped boilies, got my feeders on with some matching pellets in the middle. The upstream rod is on TG Active, the downstream one's on the krill. Both the rods are literally, I would say, 4 meters from the bank at the most. Literally from my feet. I mean, probably 6 foot off the rod tops, something like that, just to give you an idea. Current is really close to me. Should update you on a few things. Concerning me a little bit, I've been chatting about it as well with some people on YouTube. Been concerning me a little bit. My rods keep leaping off the rod rest when I get a barbel bite. You know, as I said to you, you need to be sitting right next to your rods. I mean, I've only been like 2 paces away and the rod's flying away. Not happy about it at all. Try to come up with a solution. People have suggested, you know, certain grippy sort of rod rests, or even pegging the butts down, various things. All great ideas. Problem is with river fishing, certainly with pegging the back of the rods down, is, you know, I might need to strike at any moment, so that's not ideal. The issue with sort of grippy rod rests is compounded by the fact, as you can see over my shoulder, that these are cork handles, and every grippy sort of rod rest I've found is made to fit a carp rod. A chap called Harry has actually got some sort of gripping rear rod rests, butt rests. They sort of, well, they don't exactly grip, but it won't let the rod go forwards, but you can lift it out nicely. But unfortunately at the moment we can't source any. I managed to source some in Romania and some in Italy, but none in the UK at the moment, so that's a bit of an ongoing thing. I'm, you know, going to see if I can find some of those. but I've done an alternative thing for now. It's a bit rough and ready at the moment, but I've made some up in the way that I do, and I'll show you that now. So guys, what I've decided to do whilst I'm waiting, you know, to try and source something that I'm happy with, and you know, my solution I've got here I may be happy with. You never know. It does seem to be working okay at the moment. What I've done is, effectively, I've got some goalpost buzz bar on the back here. I don't usually use backrests, so that's a good start. But I've got a goalpost buzz bar on the back here, as you see, a fish with 2 rods. What I've effectively done is mounted a metal plate onto a bank stick thread, like a male thread, and onto that metal plate I've screwed a magnet, just sitting flat on top of this plate. And so very rough and ready at the moment. I've just arrow lighted them on top, just so I want to see if it's going to work. And then what I've done is, on the butt of the rod, is I've put a rubber cap over it that fits nicely, and inside that rubber cap I've put another magnet. Now the pull to get these magnets apart is about 3.5 kilos, so it's not a problem to pull them off the rod rests at all. But I'm thinking that a fish is not going to pull those rod rests off, since then they haven't got a direct pull on it after they're pulling at the end of the line, the rod's bending. That's my guess. I mean, I can always up the strength of the magnets. You know, these magnets come in all different strengths. But that's my idea at the moment, and to be honest, it's lovely. You just put the rod down, it gets anywhere near the magnets and they just clunk together. So I'm liking it at the moment. You'll probably also see over this shoulder, change my reels. I've gone back to bait runners, again for the same reason. Rods leaping off the rod rests. Not happy. Not overly happy about going the bait runner route, because I think when you're fishing running rigs, as I am down here, I think that the fish a lot of the time actually hook themselves against the rod. As the rod pulls round, that's what hooks the fish. Now obviously if you've got bait runner on, there's not a lot of tension there, so I think it's a bit of a balancing act, balancing up the tension on the bait runner, with, you know, the rod not going off the rests, with hooking the fish. And the other factor to bear in mind, of course, is, you know, you don't catch barbel every time. You know, there's bream, there's chub, so, you know, I do have to strike at sometimes a split second's notice, and obviously bait runners are not ideal for that either. You know, you find yourself grappling around trying to grab the spool, so not ideal, but better than having the rods leaping about. So we'll see how it goes anyway. But I'm thinking, you know, these magnets on the buzz bars as well will be good in the dark, because, you know, as I say, I put the rod anywhere near where it needs to go and it just pulls itself on. And there's these really strong magnets. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce it, but I think it's neodymium. I think they're neodymium. I think that's how it's pronounced. They're the sort of magnets he used on the maglev trains, so there's some strength to them. We're really losing the light now. It's coming up 7:30. The rod tips are twitching, which is promising. There's a few fish moving as well, just topping. Sure, it's chub. Big swirls on the top, just chub taking bits and pieces off the top, I think. There's probably a little chub plucking away at my baits as well, but it's a good sign. There's something going on down there anyway. The cold weather going into the river hasn't completely switched it off, which is good news. I don't think we're going to get a bite. Well, it's too light though. I mean, the river is just crazily clear. If that is such a word. I've just swung the feeder out underarm, and I've watched the feeder go down the water, and I saw it pretty much all the way to the bottom, and it's probably 5 foot deep where I'm fishing, but it's just so clear at the moment. You know, I noticed yesterday when I had my I put my the probe off the thermometer I've got, the temperature gauge, into the water, and the wire on that's at least 3 foot long, and I threw that in. It's white, and saw it, and I could, you know, clearly see the end of it. So I think it's going to be reasonably dark by the time as and when we get a bite, but hopefully we will. We can test out this my new little butt rests, the magnetic butt rests, and see if they do the business or not. So guys, as I mentioned earlier, came out on Monday. Monday was the 11th September. As I'd fished in here only 4 days previously on the Friday, I decided I want to try another spot. I only had a couple of hours, and I didn't want to spend 15 minutes walking that way and 15 minutes walking back out of my 2 hours. So I decided to try a spot I'd never fished before, and there's not really even a peg there, to be honest. It's fishing just over some rushes, some short rushes. It's about 75 metres that way, something like that, to give you an idea, and it's just a nice straight run where the river, similar to this swim, the current is pushed onto the far side. The river's about twice as wide as it usually is up there, and the half on the inside is slack water. Similar to here, but it's much more pronounced up there. And again, I fished between the slack and the fast water in the crease there. It's a lovely peg, nice clear bottom. The clear area on the inside it's fairly weedy. There's a lot of stream weed there, cabbages and stuff. You couldn't really fish in there, you'd struggle. You'd have to make sort of 5 or 6 casts to just try and find a clear area. Whereas as soon as you get out into the current, it was that a little bit deeper, and it was donking down. I'm sure it's gravelly up there, and I was fairly confident, to be honest. As I said, the water temperature's been dropping, but I thought, you know, we'll do all right here. And I sat there for an hour and a half, and the rod tips danced and danced and danced. There's obviously smaller fish pecking away at the baits and chewing them, and you know, it's getting clangs and pulls, and it stopped for a few seconds, on again and again, and it just happened for an hour and a half, and I never had anything really that I could strike at, and certainly no 3 foot twitch. So we had another blank. Not overly unhappy about it, because, you know, I've tried that spot. I kind of got a feel for it now. I am going to fish there again, definitely. It's a really nice spot, because, as I say, it's this lovely straight run, slack on the inside, and 30 or 40 metres above it, there's like sort of a storm drain outlet into the river, and it doesn't normally flow, but just when it rains, the water runs in. Now obviously, you know, if it's not rained for ages and it's washing all the crap off the roads, it's not a good idea to fish up there. But I think when it's been raining fairly regularly, and perhaps it's washing worms and bugs and stuff into the water, it may well be worth fishing up there, certainly as well, putting like a lobworm on one of the rods or something. I'm not a great fan of using worms and live baits as such. I don't mean live baits in fish, I mean live baits, you know. Do use maggots. If that came out on the camera, big splosh behind me again under that tree. I think it's probably chub. I say I'm not a great fan of using live baits, but maybe worth doing that up there when there's been a bit of rain, go in the water. Anyway, that's for another day. Actually brings me on the subject of next week. I say today's it's the 15th today. The fish topping down here. On Monday, my wife and youngest daughter, who's just about 2, nearly 2 now, they're off to see her mum for a week and a half. So that leaves me and Anastasia free to pretty much do what we like. Now, when you've just started senior school, you have to do your own work, don't you? So she might not be able to come out too often, but we should be hitting the bank very hard next week, guys. So I'm not sure how much time I'll have to edit videos or whether I'm even going to catch any fish the way the weather is at the moment. But we can have a good few sessions, you know. Probably try a few different things as well if I can get a bit more fishing in, rather than do what I love doing, which is this, you know. I could do stuff that I like doing, like perhaps spend an evening trotting a stick float a bit further up there nearer the weir. That's good fun, catching, you know, pound and half-pound chub and stuff. I say these chub will take stuff off the top. You probably heard, if not saw, that splash then. You know, so I want to spend an evening, you know, with perhaps some dog biscuits or, you know, bread or whatever. Try and get a few out off the top here. So I think we can do a few things like that we fancy doing. Depends on the weather as well. May even next weekend. May even do an overnighter. May dust off the bivvy, and perhaps me and Anastasia will have a night somewhere. Not sure where, but you know, maybe. She's actually away this weekend on a sort of survival weekend from school. So bushcraft, that's what it's called, not survival. So she's camping for the next 2 nights anyway. Anyway, I'll stop talking. I'm going to recast these rods. It's really starting to get dark now. Fortunately, we're avoiding these showers. They're supposed to peter out though, so fingers crossed they might stay dry. Well guys, that's me done for the night. It's 9:30. I've had enough. To put you in the pictures, what's happened is a huge shoal of bream moved in. They were rolling literally on the end of my rod top for 3/4 of an hour. I'm pretty sure they've cleaned me out. All the bait's gone, I'm sure, and they've just gone. I was going home this sort of time anyway, which is why I haven't put any more bait in. Had a few sort of chubby plucks, but didn't connect with them. So not a great evening's fishing. Not a total disaster. The magnets on the butts were fantastic. Obviously I haven't tested them on a take, but putting them down in the dark is just so easy. Put it within 2 or 3 inches of where you want it and clunk, it's straight back, pulls itself down. And of course, one thing I never thought about, it goes in exactly the same position as it was previously, because the magnet just goes on top of itself. You know, there's no forwards and backwards moving to get the tips in the torch or anything, which I never even thought about. So that's fantastic. Anyway, as I said, going to be a hard week's fishing this week. Plenty of different stuff I think we'll do. I'm going to try some different pegs. Tried some different stuff this evening. Didn't work. I tried one rod for the last hour fishing off this baited spot because I knew these bream were here. Nothing. To be honest with you, I could have scaled down the baits and the hook sizes and caught a few bream, but wasn't really here for that tonight. I'd rather do that up above the weir. There's some much bigger bream up there. You know, they go 8 pound up there. And they're a real good nick as well. You can have a nice bag of bream up there. So we'll save that for another day. So yeah, as I said, not a complete disaster, but apologies for there being no fish for you. But you know, you can't win them all. That's 2 blanks on the trot now. So the next trip will now be Monday, which will be 18th. So I shall see you then. Hopefully we shall have some fish on Monday night. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Enjoy your own angling, and I'll see you again next time.